brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Welcome, everyone. This is another Suds segment, in case you were wondering. And our motto of the day, and of the year for that matter, is drink, belch, and repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we be that instructive with Dave to repeat anything?
It's going to happen regardless.
Breathe in, breathe out.
That sounded a lot like Sass Mouth.
He's a creature of habit, you know. Anyways.
But of course.
Well, I am your hostess, good old gal Julieanna, and today at the table is good old boy Dave.
I'm both frightened and the roast.
Of course you are. And also with me today is good old boy Kendall.
It is so good to see y'all's faces.
Aww.
Behind those masks.
Here I am.
Also joining me today is good old boy Mike.
I am here in spite of the injunctive order that Canada has issued on me.
Well,
That's weird.
that's
not news.
yeah, we've known that
once
forever.
again.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Just to be expected.
And pretty much. And also joining me at the table today is good old boy Caperton.
Hello. I'm seated between Julie and Mike, and I couldn't be happier.
Aww, that's so sweet.
I see you guys too.
You've been drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Well, today we are drinking rosé. And no, fear not, it is not a wine episode. We're drinking rosé ales and ciders. I know, who'd have thought, right? It's a trend in craft beer that's been around for a year or so. But now, well, what is it? And is it any good?
What is it?
Yeah. So we're going to take a deep dive into that today. But first, this Suds segment is brought to you by
Pull My Finger. It's the dating app for marriage-minded singles who want to skip past the excitement and, well, hard work of new relationships and get right to the good stuff. Forget the little black dress and go straight to sweatpants and an old t-shirt. No more glamour shot profile pics, no makeup, no filters, no problem. When you're ready for the real thing and you don't have time to stop and smell the roses, Pull My Finger. Download today.
Okay, we have some rosé ales. But what is rosé? Our resident wine aficionado, good old boy Mike, please share and give us some information on this delicate creature.
I will be using my famous French fake accent while I be discussing the wine for the day. Rosé is not even wine. It's more like wine-like.
So much sharing.
Yes, so much sharing is caring. That's for you, Caperton. Pull my figure. So rosé is a style of wine. It is a little confusing. Actually, it is one of the oldest styles of wine, and we were talking a little bit about that. And part of it is because red wine grapes are used, but the skins are actually removed early in the process so that their impact of color is minimized. And so it's pretty easy.
Is that true? Yes, it's true.
Yes, it is too, you little fat. So
Fact check.
So, I mean, rosés generally derive their color from how long actually you would leave, the stems and, the skins.
Seeds.
Basically in there.
Caperton has learned to get rid of the stems and seeds immediately.
Different episode.
Yep. So, some rosés actually have a darker color than others, and a lot of people think that's a component of age, and it has nothing to do with age. Actually, rosé is a fresh wine. Actually, when you go up and ask, what is the vintage on a rosé, and when they stop laughing at you, they'll go, well, last Thursday,
February.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it is really generally a wine that you are going to drink, young, and fresh. There are some rosés that are, vintage, but, I don't know of anybody that would really own up to the fact that they really enjoy those.
So rosé
styles.
is kind of like the jailbait of wine.
No, there are a bunch of.
Now I'm listening.
No, there are a bunch of fresh wines that are made. So the vast majority of wine that is consumed globally is actually fresh table wines. You don't actually. A lot of those are never even put in bottles. They're actually sold in. They're called wine bladders, and so they're just they're moved around in basically a huge plastic
whoopee cushion.
Yeah, right. And a lot of table wines that are made fresh and consumed fresh are actually quite good. So those are called vin de paz, which is the wine of the day.
Gotcha.
And so rosés follow a little bit more aging than traditional vin de paz. Beaujolais is is a kissing cousin of rosé. So it is made once a year on the full moon, the first full moon in November. So it's called Beaujolais Day.
Beaujolais.
And so they're made with certain grapes in France, and I'm sorry, it's just eluding me the name of that grape. Starts with a G, like Gamay is what it's made with. But rosé can actually be made with a really broad range of grapes. Most of it is Grenache. Grenache is made in a lot of regions around the world.
Isn't that stuff that you get on like a dessert? Mm-hmm. No, that's Ganache.
No,
sorry.
that is not. This is different. That's chocolate Grenache. Yeah. Beer geeks on this side of the room, all the wine geeks on this side of the room.
So it's not.
Pick a side. Okay. Sangiovese. Is another very common grape varietal that you find that's made with rosé. Sangiovese is a very popular red grape in Italia. But you also can have Sangioveses in some other areas of the world as well.
Fancy.
Syrah is a very popular varietal grape in California.
It's a Democrat.
Mourvedre is usually a blending wine.
Syrah only grows to the left.
But you can make rosé out of that. There's some other blending grapes, that can be utilized. Pinot Noir is probably the most expensive rosé on the free planet. So, that would be, something that you would probably not want to do economically.
What about that muscadine rosé?
That's just for you folks out there in East Tennessee.
Get that in a gallon milk jug.
That's right.
So today is all.
Well, you know what? Those are fresh made wines
they
too,
are
buddy.
wines of the day.
That's right.
Oh, sure.
That's from last Thursday. You bet.
Keep cold drink fresh.
That's right. So today is all about rosé beers, and ciders are actually made from usually adding some wine grapes or some juice as one of the fermentable components. So that's what kind of brings a lot of the sugar, to the table. Lots of the breweries have done beers with grapes. I really love the one from Trillium. That's a really great wine blend. But from what I understand, actually to be considered a rosé ale, it would have to follow a pretty specific profile. It has to be light, fruity, and refreshing.
Like Mike.
Yeah, I'm fruity.
Except for the light part.
Wow.
Now, just like there is a second way.
Refreshed already.
Yep. So there are actually a lot of ways in which you can make rosé wine. There are multiple ways in which you can usually make rosé beer. And there are breweries that actually do a lot of things. They'll add other kinds of grapes, to impart color or to add flavor to it. Use different kind of adjuncts, to kind of bring things around. And even in the flight we're going to go through today, it's such a broad range of things. There are sour beers that they've put in wine barrels. We have kettle sours that are part of this. We have actual beer that's been finished off in wine barrels. So it is a very wide variety of things in the flight that we're going to have today. So, so that's kind of a quick overview of, beers and rosé in general and, probably what we're going to get to experience today.
Very nice.
Nice.
Cool.
Well done, Mike.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You might pull my finger out.
There we go.
Maybe not.
Later.
Okay.
Later.
Good old boy Kendall, would you give us the lineup of today's rosé-ish beers?
Ish.
The rosé ales and ciders we'll be tasting and discussing today are Foolproof Brewing Company's Tatou Rosé Saison, Side Project Brewing's Rosé de Paix Saison, Spotzel Brewing, a.k.a. Shiner, Rosé Pale Ale, Rheingeist, Bubbles Rosé Ale, and also from Rheingeist, the Little Bubs Session Rosé Ale. And finally, Oscar Blues Brewing, Guns and Rosé.
Welcome to the jungle.
Yes. Right, there you go.
Sorry.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. All right.
That's actually what he sounds like now, though.
It may be.
Axel.
Yeah, maybe.
Axel Rosé.
He kind of looks like Mike these days too.
Yeah. So we got.
He actually does.
They're both gingers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Ouch. Yeah.
I win the prize for burning faster.
Okay.
Oh.
But he burned out faster.
Yeah, I take on a very rosé-like hue rather quickly.
Mike can light up a room. No, literally.
Yeah, right.
Wow. We forgot, though, to mention that we kind of threw in
How many
curveball.
woodchucks would a woodchuck chuck if he
it's-
made a cider that was in a rosé
Yeah,
style?
this one brings the sugar to the table.
Yeah. So another one that we're going to be discussing in this flight, but not necessarily a true rosé-ish beer, is the Woodchuck Bubbly Rosé Hard Cider.
Sugar. Honey.
You can
All right,
taste
we
the
will
woodchuck.
return after a brief interlude.
I'm surprised.
Welcome back,
never go off
everyone.
topic.
Amish chickens.
$20 worth of paper
No, we are
towels
not
you
talking about Amish chickens.
We may get to it.
No.
We'll see.
What we are talking about today, for those of you just tuning in, is
Amish chickens.
French
Yeah.
Amish chickens.
no, silly. That's for later.
Okay.
We're going to talk about rosé and rosé-ish style beers because it's a thing. It's a phenomenon.
Really?
Sweeping the nation.
Sweeping the
Maybe.
nation.
Maybe.
Yes.
Feeling fruity.
So we discussed what beers that we're going to be tasting today, but now we need to discuss the ratings. And good old boy Caperton, would you mind doing the Suds ratings for us and do it in a voice of a wine snob?
Oui. I shall do this
Ooh.
in my most condescending wine snobbery.
I almost feel him looking over his glasses,
I
you
know.
know?
When I close my eyes, I hear Mike.
Silence, please. We will be discussing and rating these so-called beers with these Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Here are those ratings now. Please pay attention. A rating of 1, that sucks. Please give me anything but a Budweiser. A rating of 2. Was that what you would call a belch? Yes. A rating of 3, moving along. Rating of 3. What a relief, finally. A rating of 4. A body really should not make that sound, only in a state of extreme excitement. And a rating of 5. Listen to that hang time, brother. Give me another.
He went a little
little swerve on that last one. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
That was good.
Reminded me of John Malkovich when he's doing his English accent.
Oh my God, yes.
Doesn't he?
Yes. And he can be snobby.
Yes.
That's pretty close. I agree, Kendall.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I think he found his true calling. That's his voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You should be a John Malkovich impersonator.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm working on it.
Oh, man, that's cool. Okay.
I'll let you listen to some of my wine shows, for inspiration.
Yeah, that'll get me in the zone.
Yeah, that'll get you running.
Wow. Oh, okay. Now let's get into the beers.
Hey, were we going to talk about
Or
how
rosé.
wine is really an inferior product to beer?
Negative Ghost Rider.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So the first beer that we're going to talk about, and there's a lot of it. Okay. First beer we're going to discuss is from Foolproof Brewing Company.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It is the Tatou Rosé Saison.
Yes.
5.9% ABV. Tatou, which is French for armadillo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The plane, boss, the plane. Oh,
That's
sorry.
what I
never mind.
thought.
It's a whole different thing.
Thought that was just a little guy.
Well, yeah. It's a Saison inspired by the dry rosé wines of Provence,
It
France.
needs some inspiration.
Yeah. Brewed with the must of Grenache grapes.
Musk.
Woo,
I just
kind of
make-
musky in here.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody
Okay.
can't copy and paste the musk. There you go. You found the
Feel
clip.
the must.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So, Grenache grape musk and hibiscus flowers. It is a sparkling pink ale that is dry, effervescent, fruity, and complex. It is a marriage of the sophisticated, delicate nature of an expertly produced French wine and the bold ingenuity and creativity of American craft beer. Man, doesn't that speak America?
Yeah.
But they may not make much sense, but neither does an armadillo smelling like a flower.
That's right. It's
I wish
I've never
that they
smelled
had,
an armadillo.
they had
so-
put as much effort into making this beer as they did actually writing that, that description.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I
I
concur.
didn't even know they had armadillos in France.
Or where is this place again?
Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. They just have
Yeah,
a
that's
French.
some-
They just have a French word for armadillo. Yeah.
So I will say, as this beer's warmed, it's grown on me a little bit, and I think they got their description's not too far off, except for the complex part, because it's
It's kind of thin.
it's a little thin,
Yeah.
and it is dry. It is possibly the driest beer up here that I'm looking at. No, maybe probably not. Now that I think about it, but it's just not. It's not killing
Not
it for
working.
me. It's not killing it for me.
I got a. It's funny because
That's what it's not.
I got a little bit of that Saison hit.
Just a
But
little
it's-
peppery,
yeah, just a hint of the peppery, but not even enough. If I want a lot more of the peppery phenolic, just a little bit of a bite.
I'm not sure it would work with even like what we're going for.
There's
here,
just not
you
a
know?
lot of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the problem
Lack
for me.
of
is,
complexity.
the finish off this is very light. It's very watery, and I think that's what just fell apart for me. This is something that I would expect would be very Grenache like. If I had to pick, the varietal of grape, it's very fruity on the nose. But that's about the only thing it had going for it. I did not like this beer.
It's like
at
Rhode
all.
Island, just not much there.
It's funny. Is unlike a lot of beers, as this warmed up, I liked it less. I think I liked it more when it was cold.
I think
the
the
other
only
way.
thing this is missing is being in a Bud Light can, Bud Light Rosé.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
That's coming.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
that.
it's probably yeah. Thanks, I gave him that marketing idea.
Yeah, that's coming. The color's a little off for me.
I guess that's the hibiscus, like the color derived
Maybe.
from that.
Yeah,
and,
maybe. But in
What
this,
was
but in the scheme of things, it's got like a little bit more of an orangey tint compared to everything else that we have in front of us.
You're right.
I don't dislike it. Don't like it. I nothing it.
Nothing.
I nothing it. Yeah, I kind of feel that way because there's nothing that really stands out.
Does it make you feel empty
Give
inside?
it no rating.
Caperton, pull my finger, see if this beer gets any better.
Can we give this an
It would
absence
definitely
of
get
rating?
more complex.
Nah, we rated it.
A 3,
Okay. Yeah.
but it does
After
come.
all that was
Wow.
we were generous.
Yeah, I would have
that
to
was
say.
we kind of
Where
were.
were we when we?
Yeah, that might be
I
the
think Mike might have had it right there.
most we've ever been off on a description and a rating. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It might have been where it was in the flight.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it was colder in the
I didn't
beginning.
taste that one first, so
I don't know.
I still
Yeah.
just don't
bring on the bomb.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk about something completely different.
That's an
Okay.
And
understatement.
now for something
I
completely
can't wait.
different.
Exactly. So, from Side Project.
Oh, good. I was hoping.
Yeah.
Get to
from
drink
Side
that one
Project.
now.
Yeah. We're doing the Rosé du Pays.
This is a bottle with a message in, and the message is
Dupas. Faux pas on my part.
Yes.
I think I've muled this bottle back for you guys.
I think
now
you
that
did
it's
mule
coming back.
this. Yes. Now, of note, this is only 4% ABV.
Okay.
Okay, so wrap that one around your head.
Love it.
So this is inspired by the classic saisons from the French and Belgian countryside and the rosé wines of France.
Okay.
They blended mature beer du pas with Chambourcin
Yes.
grapes
Yeah.
from Noblesse Vineyards in Augusta, Missouri,
What?
Yep.
to add a round tannin, soft dryness, and a beautiful color. The color is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It is.
To our already favorite beer du pas. Dupas, before naturally conditioning this beer in the bottle for several months before sharing it with you. Well, with all of us around here.
Beer du pas, not to be confused with beer du mât.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay.
Well, we've had so many great, side project beers, and Corey has just been killing it in terms of quality. And, probably if we were just looking at, the beer names and the flight up front, I think we all had a lot of high expectations of what, Corey would do, with this. I guess the one thing that at least I said is, this is a sour beer that is using the house culture, that Corey uses that's been finished off in a wine-like way. Mm-hmm. And so this is a vast departure from some of the other, styles of rosé that we have in front of us.
I agree.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. I mean, this is a great sour beer.
Yeah. It stands apart from the pack, probably for that reason.
There's probably a lot more craftsmanship that went into this beer.
I've had a few beers with this grape, Chambourcin, right? And I've loved them all. One of my favorite scratch beers was the beer that they did with that grape.
Oh, yeah.
I think
So
this
I'm
one is
thinking someone in the
definitely-
Midwest must be growing that grape.
Well, they said Missouri, right?
Yeah. Augusta, Missouri.
But this is I think the most complex beer of the flight. There's a lot going on with this one. And even though that sourness, tartness is there, it's not strong or overwhelming.
It's
it
not at
really
all.
blends well.
It's
with
right where you want it to be.
I think this is the most wine-like beer that we have in front of us.
I agree.
It's got that little bit of acidity you get out of some wines, and I just think it's
just from the nose on down.
really dry, really crisp.
Very Venus.
Well, it's really it's tough to figure out where the sour beer starts or stops, and basically the wine notes are kind of picking up because you're really getting the tartness. Comparisons between those two are going to be very.
I think,
close
like
to
you would
each other.
expect from this brewery, those two things complement each other. So well executed. For sure.
Did an amazing job with this one.
Well, to me, it's very easy drinking, and I could see why. Like, I have a few friends that are wine lovers that really don't get into beer, and I think if I had a bottle of this at a gathering, they would really enjoy it.
You mean like Mike?
Well, because it's like the best of both worlds. There is a whiny-ness
like
to
Mike?
it.
Venus.
Yeah.
Venus.
So there have been multiple batches of this, by the way, and actually we're tasting and reviewing batch 1 today. So,
Are we?
Yeah.
Are you
Wow.
sure? Because I bought this friggin' thing like just a few months ago.
And it's only what, 4? You said 4%?
Only 4%.
And that's my new
Golly,
jam.
man.
I hate to tell you guys, but I'm going low. I'm session.
Going low ABV?
But if you,
I
that's
don't,
the
I
way-
don't think
that
of
is
these
the way
beers
to
as
go.
session beers. I just think of them as beers that don't get me wasted. I can drink a few of.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think
100%.
rosé, correct me if I'm wrong, this is sort of a seasonal springtime. Get the swimming pool cleaned up and ready to go. Get your bronze. What do you use?
Get your bronzer?
Bronzer.
Yeah.
out. I don't know. Is that a thing?
the thing.
And this is
Yeah.
man. I mean, this
He's
is
looking
this
at
is
all the
highbrow,
incredibly
but
white
this is a
people.
pool. This is a swimming pool beer, man. I mean, I could drink this thing all day.
I can see Caperton floating on a big pool floaty,
Yep.
like with a big
Yep.
old bottle of Saison on.
Yep.
Like, "Rah."
Just had to ruin the entire day, right
Proper
there.
glassware, yo.
That's right.
I've actually got a plastic. I'm pool. I'm
plastic
pool ready.
tulip?
I'm pool friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when it's done right like this, though, I mean, it's got so much flavor for 4%.
Yeah.
And there have been, a lot of sour beers that we've had that have been finished off in wine, but they don't really, kind of own that, as a identity element, describing it. And I think the fact that this is named as a Rosé de Pas, would this actually, taste an awful lot like a rosé wine? And my answer to that is yes. It's probably a bit more
spritzy.
It's probably a bit more tart and sharp than maybe a traditional rosé wine, but that's what I really loved about this is he owned it. I mean, it really I think that he did the beer justice. I think he did the wine justice. All the way through and through for this beer. So
You got to master your ingredients, and it feels like he did it.
It doesn't say on the label or in the description, I don't think. Is this aged in wine barrels again, or do we have any idea how they're aging this?
how it's finished out.
Yeah.
I've got to
great
believe
question.
it got finished in the wine barrels themselves, of some kind. He has way too many, barrels, laying around for that not to be the case.
And I think it has all the hallmarks of a really well blended beer too. So I mean, that's the restrained sourness, but still like getting that tartness across, without just blowing you away.
So there's no declaration, on the. It says aged in oak right here. Missouri Rosé Saison aged in oak.
Yeah,
right on the label.
Aged in a Missouri Oak Foedre.
So
there you go.
that kind of
Food
goes
crafters put food around.
kind of goes against, basically what we're talking about with, rosé is not a well-aged wine. So it is, it aged in a foeder I can get. That would probably be a very common choice of how they would actually just, leave it in the foeder.
Yeah.
As opposed to barrel aging it for any period of time. They would just basically, let it move through the fermentation cycle and boom, just drop it into jugs.
Well, you got to
and
let
away
their house, their house bugs kind of do their work.
Yep.
So
Great beer. What do we rate this one?
We rated the Rosé du Pas Saison from Side Project a 4.
nice.
Cool.
I know, right?
Great beer, Corey.
Okay, now, the brewery known as Spetzel or Shiner, we're going to talk about the Rosé Pale Ale.
You mean down in Texas they gonna make some of that rosé?
Shiner, Texas, from the people who brought you
doggy.
Shiner Bach.
Nuts, right? Okay, so this is a 6.5% ABV Pale Ale that is a collaboration with Tyler, Texas-based Caperton Vineyards, and forgive me if I'm saying it wrong.
Caperton Vineyards?
Yep.
I know, right?
I thought the same thing.
Dang.
Yeah, so Shiner uses a blend of ales fermented with grape musk,
Must. I am not putting musk. Okay.
Must you say musk?
And aged in the winery.
You guys are not pinning this crap on me. All right, I'm just telling you right now.
Really?
Yeah.
We're not?
pinning it
Say
on
that
you,
last
Dave.
part again.
Blame Dave.
Aged in the winery is white oak wine barrels.
Gotcha.
Yes. White oaky. Okay. Color.
Pink.
I drank it all.
Sort of
Pinkish,
pink
right?
orange.
I'll get some
Yeah,
more.
pink orange. Pink orange.
I call it porridge.
Orange.
I don't want to spin this around.
Spin it. Spinning wheel.
Is there anything?
Come on over here.
Okay.
Get on over here, little girl.
There you go, Caperton.
Oh, you got him an empty
Head
bottle.
fake.
Brewer's Pride.
There you go.
says.
Look, the full one came around. There he goes.
Got it.
Wow. We need to film the Lazy Susan as it toys with Caperton while he tries to.
I know, right? Okay, so thoughts on
All
this?
that for the lack of a.
Definitely rang a lot of bells for me, across. Actually, my full tasting notes on this, I wanted to read all these. There's a lot of wood, up front. When you smell this,
What she said.
it's kind of a hint of that musk.
Was it
grape
hardwood?
Must.
I love the tea bitterness in this. It kind of leaves a bit of a watery, component around it. But it's the plum is the real, star of this taste profile. It's one of the few rosé wines or rosé beers we had.
Well, we'll be back with more in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. So, for those of you just tuning in, hello, hi, how are you?
Where you been for the last 30 minutes?
I know. Well, they got delayed.
They're reading.
So, they're reading.
They had to wash.
They're reading
they
the
had to wash their
injunctive
hands.
order in Canada.
They're reading up on rosés, right?
Watching Tiger King.
Because that is what we are talking about today. Rosé beer, or rosé-ish beer to be exact. So the one that we're talking about right now is from Shiner. It is their Rosé Pale Ale. And the word on the street is...
I like it.
We
It's
love
good.
it.
I
kinda
love
good.
the finish on it. It's a very dry finish, and I think it's more than just the attenuation. I think there's a little bit of that oak tannic thing going on that it just dries out your mouth, and I love that finish.
This was the first beer we drank of this flight, and right away it reminded me, and I mentioned this to you guys, it reminded me of a beer that I really love, and that is Dogfish Head 61, which is grape must, a pale ale, I think
I like
it's pale ale.
right in the middle, there's this very subtle candy-like quality
It's
to it.
nice. This is I don't know. Should I be surprised? I don't know. I don't drink a lot of Shiner. I'll admit this.
I actually
don't.
think the tea is the thing that's kind of the dominating, flavor profile. If you had not told me what this beer was, I would have probably said this is a beer that has tea blended with it. Yeah.
What's the tea? I'm missing.
I would have said,
It's not, there's no tea in there. It's just.
and I would have
it's
looked
just
at the
okay.
color and I said, yeah, there's probably some black tea with the hibiscus, overtone to it or something like that.
Is that coming from those hops, those Idaho 7s?
And I don't know
Probably.
Brewer's Pride. I don't know. It says on the label
But
here.
you get
I
some
guess this is
tannins from
different
tea
than
too, though,
their.
don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's where part of it comes from. Mike is a very beautiful, complex riddle.
He is.
So
An enigma wrapped in a riddle.
knowing what happens in that brain of his,
Sheathed in a mystery.
it would you got into that head there, you'd probably never get out.
Well, I think what's interesting
Run
is,
through the streets naked.
I love how Shiner has really, they're not hugging their flagship into the ground, so Shiner Bock is, absolutely their flagship beer that's been around forever. And I like the fact that they have moved into making a wide variety of other style of beers, and they've made a good one.
Staying
on
relevant,
top
yeah.
of it.
a lot of their beers I'm not a fan of historically, but here lately I've tried a few of their different little offshoots.
I like their Hefeweizen.
Yeah,
good.
I think most of their one-offs are pretty good. They did one a few years back with Prickly Pear, and I really like that one.
That was good. They did a s'mores porter or something
I need
last
to pay
winter.
more
That was
attention to
actually pretty good.
Shiner.
Yeah, don't sleep on Shiner.
Yeah, listeners, don't be like me.
Yeah.
Don't be a Caperton.
Yeah. Nobody.
Well, I think part of, the point that I was trying to make here is that, this is a brewery that's been around for a very long time, and they, are on a lot of taps.
Yeah.
Because the Shiner Bock was, out, so early on, when there really was nobody else, producing that style of beer. And, I just I think if anything, don't think that they're a one-dimensional brewery. I think it's the message that I'm trying to say is that I think they're making good beer, to go around.
Yeah, and it is easy to find. Usually in my grocery store, I've noticed that, not only do they have the Shiner Bock, but if there's any one-offs, you're going to see it on the cooler.
They're very available. So when you see something, definitely jump on it and take the opportunity to try it.
Who owns? Does anyone know? I was about to look this up. I wanted to look it up.
Who owns Shiner?
Who owns Shiner?
Spatzel.
Spatzel.
It's a German family. They've been there for.
They're an independent brewer.
So are they still hanging?
Yep, they're still doing their own thing, man.
They got the independent craft label on their bottle.
They sure do. They of course, being from Texas, they've got the friggin' state of Texas on here.
I wonder if they would join the Candade.
Brewers Pride.
I think they would fit in well in that.
Brewers Pride limited
they would.
release.
Yeah. There's no competition, really, I think, with a lot of the brews that they're making there.
Twist off cap.
Can?
I know.
Twist off long neck.
Yeah.
That's they're keeping it very Texan.
Yeah.
Ooh, man, I saw a picture this week of a guy that ripped his hand apart, with the screw off cap. Oh. Just literally cut,
So
halfway through his thumb.
It really wasn't a screw off?
It was, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to turn this thing until it comes off or my thumb does.
I know.
Never see what happened to me.
I'm like, how drunk were you?
When my skin rips, I stop there.
Yeah.
Stop.
The first sign of resistance, I just grab an opener.
So what did we? What did we
rate this?
What did we give this thing?
The Shiner Rosé Pale Ale, we rated it a 4.
Okay.
And the question came around to me, which one of the beers in this flight is the most rosé-like? This was my top pick for answering that question.
Well, and it sounded like they really took the time to, because they partnered with a vineyard, like a winery to make, and they used the grape musk. And then aged it in some.
Can't fix it on the back end, can he?
Yeah,
no. And look, dude, I'm telling you.
Right.
Whatever.
Yep.
Whatever.
Fine.
Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk about Rheingeist, who is from Ohio. Yeah.
Wow.
So the first one that we're going to talk about is the Bubbles Rosé.
Can we lump these together, please?
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about bubbles and little
run
bubs.
them as
one is just a shadow of the other.
Okay. So first one is Bubbles. Bubbles is 6.2% bright, dry, lithe. Wow. Rosé ale with apple, peach, and cranberry for tartness and blush.
Well, you said apple juice.
Yep.
Bubbles
bingo.
erupts with effervescence and evanescence. That's
Wait, isn't that a band?
I know,
so.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Little Bubs, their session rosé is 4.7%. Bright and refined, session rosé with apple, peach, cranberry again. A tight and crisp expression with a smaller ABV compared to its bigger cousin. It whispers tartness and sparkles with refreshment.
Yeah, it whispers, run.
I blended them to see if they'd be better. They're not.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I like Bubbles, but it's just apple juice with a little bit of cranberry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bingo. That
It's
is
like
totally it.
Coleman's Serendipity.
Or a really crappy cider.
Yeah. I think Rheingeist
didn't
does
see that serendipity
hoppy
thing
beers
coming,
really well.
did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a full blown swing and a miss on my radar for
Yeah,
sure.
Just give me a can of truth and I'll be happy.
I think
I
Rheingeist
agree.
is like one of those restaurants where their menu is like 5 pages of, it could be 7 different types of food, and you're like, come on, just pick something.
This is a beer that I would give to a relative in Iowa that I don't like.
What if they look? I
Mike
didn't think
hates
it was.
his
I don't
Iowan
think it's that
relatives.
bad. But what if they called this a fruit beer?
Banned once again.
Yeah, if it was a fruit beer, yeah.
What if they called this a fruit beer instead of a rosé?
Yeah,
beer?
you have to shape people's expectations.
They should just call it a
It's
bad
very
idea.
fruity. It's very all those things they listed.
If you said Bubbles Rosé Ale, or I mean, fruited ale instead of rosé ale.
Yeah.
Well,
Shut up!
I'd drink
drunk.
this stuff by the pool. I would. I don't do anything by
I
the
like
pool,
bubbles
but if
way
I did,
better than
I'd drink this.
Yeah, little bubs just taste like a watered down.
It was
bubbles.
a weaker version of.
I think if you know what the word evidence actually means, I think you should get a free case of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nobody here's getting a case.
I know. Who would use that in a marketing description?
What? I missed it. Where's
Evanescence.
Evanescence. Wasn't that like some sort of pseudo Christian?
Right.
I'm drifting away from
As
the
they're all
mic, I'm
looking
sorry.
it up on
Yeah.
Google right now. Yeah. So, because
Wow.
Anyway.
I have no idea what it means.
Anyway.
I don't want a free case of this. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And well, I'm checking on Untapped, and they are rating it as a fruit beer.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they have to.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Rosé ale is.
I'm not sure
like
there's a rosé beer style.
There's
on
not,
tap,
and that's what it's.
so.
So it has to be an adjunct beer,
Sure.
or a fruited ale.
You're going
just
to
a
love
bad
this
idea.
definition, Mike. It's
Oh, okay.
an adjective that's soon passing out of sight, quickly fading or disappearing.
Yeah, that would be exactly how I would describe this beer. Quickly fading, and man, I hope it's gone fast.
Man, Mike loves him some bubbles.
Yeah.
You guys
This is-
rated it lower than I did.
this is certainly not like
Why
the
not just say
Canadian show,
quickly
is
fading?
it?
But it's
No,
not. But of these beers, this one tasted the most ridiculous. I guess I would say. It's very like.
Well, the reason I included it too was like, there's if you have a certain idea of what a rosé ale would be, like you're going to use the grapes or whatever.
Yeah.
People will just do whatever they want to do and
This
call it.
is
Well, it's pink, so it's got to be
Rosé.
rosé. Yeah.
I would not want to play Scrabble with people. When somebody comes up with the word evanescence in a beer description, they would probably kick
Somebody
people out.
uses the word evanescence in Scrabble, you're screwed.
Yeah, I would just go, there you go.
word.
Quit.
They just took
I'm
half
good.
the tiles.
Yeah.
So, what did we rate these beers?
Okay, so we rated Bubbles a 3, and we rated Little Bubs a 2.
Kind.
Okay, now we can talk about.
Okay, so this next beer that we are going to discuss
pretty accurate.
is
I
no
would say
longer
we got that right.
it's no longer in production.
Okay.
Yeah.
Due to litigation.
Welcome to the jungle.
So by that little side note there, yes, it's from Oscar Blues, and it's called Guns and Rosé.
I do like prickly pear, though.
I do too.
Yeah.
6% ABV. It's an ale with hibiscus and prickly pear.
I guess I like hibiscus, too, although I don't chew on a lot.
I think a little goes a long way.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true.
The most beer of the beer that we've had today.
Yep, for sure. In fact, I wrote that down. Wow, beer with hints of prickly pear. So
Beer on a beer show. Who would have guessed?
this is actually as about as far away from a rosé as you could possibly get.
It's very punny, but it's
I mean, I actually like the beer a lot. I mean, I thought it tasted good.
Yeah.
If you're asking me if it's a good rosé beer, no. It's
I
not.
think somebody at Oscar Blues in the brewery, they fired one up and they were listening to some Guns N' Roses and they were like, hey, we're going to make this beer with hibiscus and passion fruit. What should we call it? They're like,
I
Guns N'
wonder.
Rosé.
To my mind, this was one of the first beers that I remember that name checked rosé.
yeah. No,
So
I agree.
I think it
was
might
early.
be they might have just done it for the pun of it. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't.
Oh.
But I do love prickly pear, and you know what? I would drink this beer, but they deserve to get sued for this.
Wow.
Give it to him, Axel.
Boom! Take that, Axel Rose. Oh no,
Yeah.
he's the winner here. isn't
Yeah,
he?
I don't know why you would.
Now, that would be a good beer, an Axel Rosé.
Axel Rose. Yeah, could be like all talking. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't even talk about. No, I don't even
I think
know.
the bottom line, though, with this one, though, is that I still get the undertone of what Oscar Blues is like. Like, I get
Sure.
a hint
Yep.
of hops in there, and
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, this is an Oscar
It's a
Blues
good solid
beer.
beer.
It definitely
Yeah.
tastes like an Oscar Blues.
It
beer.
is. It is. Now, as a true rosé, no.
No.
I think
No.
an Axel Rosé would be one that just didn't age well.
He was been sitting on that for at least 40 minutes.
No, dude. As soon as I had, that's the zinger.
You wrote that down.
No, that's free. He's freestyling.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Yeah, that's
the
cool.
Zinger
I freeballed that
zinger
one,
of the
yeah.
episode right there.
Okay. Well, the Guns and Rosé
Rosé
beer
Yeah.
from Oscar Blues, we
What'd we-
rated a 3.
3. Yeah. I think we were generous in some of
I
these-
would
with
say
some
they
of
need to
these
keep
beers.
making it. Just call it something,
because
not
it was
litigious.
good beer.
How many woodchucks would a woodchuck chuck?
Oh no.
Well, okay, so
I
briefly, let's just. I think it's safe to say that the beers that actually contained a grape musk
Must.
in them, musky must, actually
funky bunch.
produced a better,
Rosé beer.
yes, versus something that was just
Finished in a wine
Is that
fruity
how
that
we
gave a
broke
color.
down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
done the crunch the numbers here.
Now, lastly, we're going to talk about Woodchuck's Hard Cider, their bubbly rosé. Okay.
Kool-Aid.
It is a bubbly
Kool-Aid
fruit
man.
forward blush cider made with a blend of red apples, delivering a crisp, smooth finish.
Oh my, no, there is nothing crisp and smooth.
If this didn't have alcohol in it, it's a kid's drink.
Yeah.
It
It's
needs to
even
be
with alcohol.
It needs
it's
to be in
kid's
a
drink.
juice box with a straw.
It's just sugar and it looks like pink food
So
coloring.
it's actually not pink food coloring. It's purple carrots.
Yeah, I can see some parents putting this in a sippy
What
cup.
did you
Purple
just?
carrots,
What
yes.
are you saying?
Yes.
Red apples and purple
Never had
carrots.
purple carrots.
Purple carrot juice, dude.
Really?
I'm just shocked.
Blue
I'm just
stars,
shocked.
Oh my
green clover.
goodness! Where have
Yeah.
you been?
I
Have you
didn't-
been deprived your whole
No,
life?
I'm saying.
Think about
in
how
this-
much more
in this
sugar-
context. I did not expect him. If he
Yeah.
had said purple dye number 47, I would have
okay.
went. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, think about how much more sugar they got out of those purple carrots. too.
Yeah. I guess so.
Basically, free sugar that
Yeah.
you're dropping in.
To make it
Those crafty woodchuckers.
and this is a gorgeous pink, though. If you're, you know,
So
Yeah.
I would send this to a relative that I don't like in Oklahoma.
Well, it's just
And once again,
So, what
you, yeah.
state do the relatives you like live in?
I don't know which ones actually listen to the show, Dave. So there's no right answer to that.
I'm not asking which one's like you. I'm asking because that would be a hard question.
well,
What do we rate this? A
yeah,
one?
it's a good question, right? So the Woodchuck Hard Cider Bubbly Rosé, we rated a
Middle finger.
1.
we were generous.
yeah.
You're number
Very,
one,
very-
Woodchuck. You're number
You get a
one.
1 for purple carrots.
Yeah.
I'm just blown away by that.
Okay, well, that is going to wrap it up for today's Suds episode. You can always find us where you found this episode, as well as radio, satellite, online at Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and nearly any place you listen to a podcast. The easiest way to find the show on your phone is to ask Alexa, Siri, or Google, play podcast Sips, Suds, and Smokes.
We love your feedback, and you can always reach us online at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com.
Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram every day. That's why they're daily. At Sip Suds and Smokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news.
Please take the time to rate this episode if you're listening online.
5 stars.
Well, good boy Dave, you know the drill.
Bzzz. Wait, is that a good drill noise?
Carpenter bee there.
Bye.
Good boy Kendall, thanks for being
It
here.
was a pleasure.
Please tell us about your blog.
My beautiful wife and I blog about the good news of good beer at beermakes3.com.
Good boy Mike.
It was a pleasure hanging out with you, beer people. With a rosé. Come back. Join us for another exciting episode. Hopefully, a wine episode of Sips Suds and Smokes.
Oh, do
I
we
will
have
ask
to?
you to keep on sipping.
Wow. Good boy Caperton.
This has been fun. Thanks.
This is good old gal Julieanna. Keep on shuggling and catch you next time.
been a 110 Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.